So what do you talk about? 25 years just evaporated into the thin air. You go to places and you can't really say, oh, I've been there, or oh, I've done this, or what do you talk about?
Back in the day, there were a lot of gentlemen, like even if they were kind of open the door before you carried your bags, I don't know. It felt like it was. I kind of want to go, what happened? What happened to that what happened? I mean, did they just not open doors anymore? Do they just not carry your bags anymore? Is everything 50-50? Is I buy a meal this day and then you buy a meal the next day? What is that? What is that? Because if I can open my own door and I can carry my own bags, put fuel in my car, send out to get gas in the middle of the night, wash my own car, what's the point of being in a relationship?
Welcome back. Today we are looking at the story of a 58-year-old woman who chose to end a 25-year marriage in 2022. Years later, she is still posting videos about her former husband and continues explaining the decision she made while insisting she has found peace. Today we will hear her own account of what happened after the divorce, because the outcome was very different from what she expected.
Being divorced in your 50s is a lot different than being divorced in your 30s or 40s. In your 30s or 40s, you're like, I'm out there, I'm dating, I'm going to clubs, I'm hanging out with my friends, and, you're doing a thing. You're probably raising kids if you had kids, and baseball games and such. When you're in your 50s and you get divorced, it's like, I just want to stay at home in peace. No fighting, no chaos, no disruptions. That's divorce life in your 50s. There's not a whole lot going on. You want to grab a glass of wine and sit at home and do nothing.
There you have it, brothers. This is how she describes life after divorce in her 50s, with a quiet home and plenty of time alone. She calls it peace, but she also keeps returning to social media to explain that choice. For many people, that raises the question of whether she has truly moved on or is still trying to convince herself that everything turned out the way she hoped.
So if you're going through a divorce, I was divorced after 25 years, you need to be really careful about carrying your emotions on your sleeve and getting into a relationship, a rebound relationship. When you have wounds, spirits can come in and begin to lie to you. You really need to do your emotional healing before you get tied into a relationship that is not good for you. A lot of times they prey on us. They prey on our weaknesses and people, in our vulnerability when we come out of.
She explained her dating choices by blaming outside forces instead of taking full responsibility for her own decisions. But the choices she made after leaving her 25-year marriage were still her own. She entered the dating world and experienced situations that did not turn out as expected. Now the question becomes whether those outcomes came from circumstances or from the decisions she made along the way.
I'm 58 and I'm dating. I was married for 25 years. I'm 58 and I'm dating. And I'm dating my age. I'm dating my age. So those are in my age range. Back in the day, there were a lot of gentlemen, like even if they were kind of open the door before you carried your bags, I don't know. It felt like it was. I kind of want to go, what happened? What happened to that what happened? I mean, did they just not open doors anymore? Do they just not carry your bags anymore? Is everything 50-50? Is I buy a meal this day and then you buy a meal the next day? What is that? What is that? Because if I can open my own door and I can carry my own bags, put fuel in my car, send out to get gas in the middle of the night, wash my own car, what's the point of being in a relationship?
She listed all the responsibilities she handles alone, including everyday tasks and late-night situations. Then she questioned what role a man actually serves in her life. But a relationship is not only about sharing chores or completing tasks. A partner also brings support, companionship, and someone to rely on when life becomes challenging.
Peace, yes. Do I want to go out and party and drink and do all that kind of stuff? No, but I wasn't a big drinker to begin with. And one that, kind of did all that running around and stuff. So sitting at home and being peaceful, and I'm an introvert, not an extrovert. I mean, I can be an extrovert when I need to be, and I like to have fun and whatever, but I can very much be alone, and be completely okay. And maybe that's because I have a relationship with the Father. I pray a lot. And it's like when I pray, I like having a conversation with him, because it's like I'm not ever really alone. I say I'm alone and I have peace, but I spend a lot of time talking to my Father about everything. So I'm not really alone. I guess that makes a really big difference. But
Brothers, this moment highlights the difference between spiritual support and human companionship. Faith can provide comfort in many ways, but marriage also brings the daily presence of someone who shares your memories, your struggles, and your ordinary moments. Walking away from that kind of connection can create a silence that is not always easy to replace. This story serves as a reminder to think carefully before making choices that cannot easily be undone.
being divorced after 25 years, I was divorced in 22, separated like 18, 19. So we were separated for quite a long time. Your body just is like in survival mode sometimes, because like by the time you get to the place where you're getting divorced, there's a lot of disagreements. And, I was married to an Italian, so there's a lot of yelling. And your body's on survival mode. And I have noticed that in this year, like maybe half of 25, coming in, like I'm really coming off a survival mode. Like my cortisol levels seem to be dropping. Like we were separated in like I said, 18, 19, was divorced in 22. It's 26. And I'm just now regulating. No wonder I want to stay home with my peace.
This moment raises a deeper question about what happened after the separation. Years later, she is still processing the changes that came after leaving the marriage. The question many people are discussing is whether the relationship was truly the source of her struggles, or whether the loneliness that followed made her see the past differently. The reality of life after a major decision can sometimes feel very different from what someone expected.
Not just the end of 25 years. It's like the ripping away of a lifetime. I mean, 25 years, that's a long time. And, there's vacations and there's holidays and there's birthdays and there are experiences. And here's the thing. 25 years just evaporated into the thin air. You go to places and you can't really say, oh, I've been there, or, oh, I've done this, or what do you talk about? Because your past up until that moment involved someone that you've been with for 25 years.
This moment summarizes the story in a powerful way. After 25 years together, she now finds herself looking back at a life that was once shared with someone who is no longer beside her. She wanted a different path, and now she is experiencing the reality that came with that choice. Some decisions do not just change the present, they also change the memories and future built over many years. Choose your partner carefully and understand the value of what you build together.